Hello and welcome. I am Pranay Upadhyay and you are watching Namaste World, your daily window into the biggest stories shaping India and the world. We begin in South Asia. Russia offers India full Su-57 production and deep tech transfer ahead of President Vladimir Putin's visit to India. Back in America, US-Saudi Defense Pact with F-35 jets and nuclear cooperation could reshape West Asia and raise new security concerns for India. In South Africa, Prime Minister Narendra Modi heads to a tense Johannesburg G20 Summit as India pushes growth, climate resilience and tech leadership amid US-South Africa frictions. But the biggest news of the day, China bans all Japanese seafood after Tokyo signals possible military support for Taiwan, sharply escalating already tense bilateral relations. All that and more. Global flashpoints, power plays and the stories that matter coming up in this edition of Namaste World. In a sharp escalation over Taiwan, China has now slammed a complete ban on all Japanese seafood imports, dealing a fresh blow to Japan's fishing industry. The move comes just days after Japanese new Prime Minister Sanai Takachi told Parliament that any Chinese military action around Taiwan could trigger Japan's right to collective self-defense, potentially pulling Japanese forces into a conflict. Beijing called her remarks erroneous and against the tide, saying they have left no appetite for Japanese marine products in China. Hours later, a Chinese diplomat in Osaka threatened in a now-deleted post to cut off Takaichi's filthy head. Recently, 4 armed Chinese Coast Guard vessels have also entered waters around the disputed Senkaku Island. Tensions between the two nations are now at their highest in years. Russia has stunned the global defense community with a sweeping offer to India: full licensed production of the Su-57 fifth-generation stealth fighter aircraft, complete with the unrestricted technology transfer, with President Vladimir Putin heading to Delhi and India shaping its future airpower strategy. Will New Delhi take the leap into fifth-generation co-production with Moscow? Here is a report by Jyoti Shukla.
As India prepares to host Russian President Vladimir Putin this December, defense has suddenly become the centerpiece of a rapidly intensifying diplomatic week. And Moscow has now dropped what many are calling its most dramatic military pitch to India in years, one that could reshape the future of India's air power. But first, Russia knows timing matters. Putin's upcoming India visit is expected to deliver major announcements across the defense spectrum, and the diplomatic groundwork is already visible. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met President Putin in Moscow, held a detailed conversation with Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, and participated in the SCO meetings, all within a span of 24 hours. Meanwhile, in Delhi, Nikolai Patrushev, one of Putin's closest aides, met Prime Minister Narendra Modi to align positions before the summit. It is against this backdrop that Moscow made its move. At the Dubai Air Show, Russia stunned Delhi by offering something no Western partner has ever even hinted at: full licensed production of the Su-57 fifth-generation stealth fighter inside India, backed by unrestricted technology transfer.
The Russian side, represented by Rosoboronexport and USC, is offering to India supply of Su-57 fighter produced in Russia, with subsequent organization of production of the aircraft in India and technology transfer.
This isn't just about assembling aircraft from imported kits. Moscow says it is willing to open up the entire fifth-generation ecosystem: engines, sensors, stealth materials, avionics, and far more.
We are offering technological learning of fifth-generation technologies, including engines, optics, AESA radar, AI elements, low signature technologies, and modern air weapons.
If delivered, This offer would give India capabilities that no Western nation has been willing to transfer, not even partially. It would allow India to build, upgrade and evolve a stealth fighter on its own terms. And the timing is no accident. India's Air Chief Marshal AP Singh has repeatedly warned that the IAF needs to induct 35 to 40 fighter jets every year for the next 20 years just to close its squadron gaps. He has linked this urgent requirement directly to India's long-term manufacturing goals under Roadmap 2047.
It is going to fly in this decade. In 2020s, 28 or somewhere, that is the first flight planned. And by 2035, supposed to be inducted and operationalized in Indian Air Force as of now. As far as Su-57, S-57, correct? Su-57. So that is concerned, I just want to say is that we have to weigh all the options. And we in Defense Ministry and in Indian Air Force, we have a very set process of induction of any weapon system. And that process will be followed.
This puts the Su-57 proposal in sharp context. India is advancing its own AMCA program, but is also evaluating foreign fifth-gen options. And Moscow knows the timing matters, because Putin's upcoming India visit is expected to deliver major defense announcements. Behind the scenes, expectations are huge. Progress on Su-57 collaboration, S-400 deliveries, possible S-500 cooperation, expansion of joint manufacturing of Su-30 MKIs and T-90 tanks, and upgrades to the BrahMos missile program. The India-Russia defense partnership has survived geopolitical shifts, sanctions, wars, and realignments. But this moment feels different, because Moscow is signaling that it wants a new era of co-development, not just buyer-seller arrangements. As Putin prepares to land in India, the message from Russia is unmistakable. If India wants fifth-generation capability, Russia is ready to build it with India, in India and on India's terms. With Jyoti Shukla, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
The United States and Saudi Arabia have sealed a sweeping security pact that includes F-35 fighter jets, nuclear cooperation, and a new AI partnership. An agreement analysts say could reshape West Asia's military balance and revive regional rivalries. With Pakistan already deepening defense ties with Riyadh, should India now brace for a shifting strategic landscape? Here is a report by Rudrashish Kanjilal.
A major shakeup in West Asia. The United States and Saudi Arabia have signed a sweeping security and defense agreement. The announcement came from US President Donald Trump during Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's visit to the White House on Tuesday, November 18th. The visit was controversial. Trump downplayed the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, a Saudi journalist, in front of reporters. Yet, the focus remained on weapons, technology, and long-term strategic ties. So what do we know about this security pact? And more importantly, should India worry? The agreement eases weapons transfers. Saudi Arabia will now gain access to F-35 stealth fighter jets. Made by Lockheed Martin, the F-35 is one of the world's most advanced combat planes. It's called America's quarterback in aerial warfare. One jet costs $85 million to $115 million, with lifetime operational costs nearing $1 trillion.
We're going to have a deal. They're going to purchase F-35s. They're buying them from Lockheed, and it's a great plane. We make, by the way, the best military equipment. You saw that during the Iran little skirmish. We make the best planes, the best missiles. We make the best offensive missiles. We make the best military equipment in the world.
Nice.
But F-35s are just the tip of the iceberg. The pact includes cooperation in nuclear power and artificial intelligence. The White House calls it a decade-long multi-billion-dollar partnership built on strong non-proliferation standards. The move could rattle Israel. The US has long provided Israel with billions in advanced weaponry. Giving F-35s to Saudi Arabia could alter the delicate balance in West Asia. Some Pentagon officials and Trump advisors have quietly raised concerns. India, meanwhile, is watching closely. Earlier this year, Saudi Arabia and Pakistan signed a mutual defense pact. It includes a NATO-like clause. An attack on one is considered an attack on both. Given past conflict between India and Pakistan, the development is significant. Analysts warn of potential fallout. Pakistan could gain access to advanced US technology through Saudi Arabia. History offers a warning. In the late 1970s and 80s, Pakistan's nuclear program relied on the AQ Khan network to acquire critical design and know-how from Europe. Could history repeat itself with F-35 technology? Another consequence, a potential arms race in West Asia. Countries may boost military spending to keep pace. Saudi Arabia has historically stayed neutral in India-Pakistan tensions. The stance could change under this new agreement. For India, the response is clear. Focus on indigenous fighter jet production, especially the LCA Tejas. Look at alternate options, such as Russia's Su-57, a fifth-generation fighter rivaling the F-35. Strategic vigilance is key. As the F-35s take flight and nuclear partnerships deepen, the balance of power in West Asia is shifting. For India, vigilance, innovation, and strategic foresight are no longer optional. They are imperative. With Rudashish Kanjalal, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi heads to Johannesburg for a politically charged G20 Summit, where he will outline India's vision on inclusive growth, climate resilience, and emerging technologies, amid rising US-South Africa tensions and a global South leadership streak. With Washington boycotting the meet, can India seize the moment to shape the global agenda? Here is a report by Farhan Khan.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to attend the G20 Leaders Summit in Johannesburg, South Africa from 21 to 23rd November, where he will present India's views on the core elements of the G20 agenda. According to the Ministry of External Affairs, the Prime Minister will participate in all three formal sessions of the summit, outlining India's positions on inclusive and sustainable growth, global resilience to climate and disaster risks, and the opportunities and challenges posed by emerging technologies, including artificial intelligence and critical minerals. The MEA underscored that this summit marks the fourth consecutive G20 gathering hosted in the Global South. The sequence began with Indonesia's presidency in 2022, followed by India's landmark summit in 2023, which saw the African Union formally admitted as a permanent member of the grouping. Brazil continued the momentum by hosting the summit in Rio in 2024, and now South Africa holds the presidency for 2025, extending the Global South's leadership streak. Together, G20 countries account for roughly 80% of global GDP, 75% of global trade, and 60% of the world's population, underscoring the weight of these successive presidencies among emerging economies. Alongside the summit, Prime Minister Modi will also hold a series of bilateral meetings with world leaders in Johannesburg. He will also attend the India-Brazil-South Africa Leaders Meeting hosted by South Africa. Established in 2003, the IBSA Dialogue Forum brings together three major democracies and emerging economies from Asia, South America, and Africa. The platform fosters cooperation in areas such as trade, development, defense, governance, and broader South-South collaboration. IBSA nations also coordinate positions on global issues, advocate reform of the United Nations, including the expansion of the Security Council, and jointly finance development projects in vulnerable countries through the UN-administered IBSA Fund. The three sessions scheduled for the Johannesburg Summit will revolve around inclusive and sustainable economic growth, the G20's role in building a resilient world, and shaping a fair and just global future. The theme for the G20 in 2025 is Solidarity, Equality and Sustainability, reflecting South Africa's priorities as host. This year's summit, however, takes place against the backdrop of mounting tensions between the United States and South Africa. The United States has boycotted the summit and, according to a Bloomberg report, has cautioned Pretoria against issuing a joint statement. Relations soured earlier in May when South African President Cyril Ramaphosa was publicly reprimanded by US President Donald Trump at the White House following false accusations that Ramaphosa was committing genocide against white Afrikaners and expropriating farmland.
For generations, Miami has been a haven for those fleeing communist tyranny in South Africa. I mean, if you take a look at what's going on in parts of South Africa, look at South Africa, what's going on. Look at South America, what's going on. You know, I'm not going to, we have a G20 meeting in South Africa. South Africa shouldn't even be in the Gs anymore because what's happened there is bad. I'm not going. I told him I'm not going. I'm not going to represent our country there. It shouldn't be there.
All I can say in my experience in politics is that boycotts never really work. They have a very contradictory effect. The United States, by not being at the G20, one must never think that we are not going to go on with the G20. The G20 will go. All other heads of state will be. And in the end, we will take fundamental decisions, and their absence is their loss.
PM Modi's presence in Johannesburg signals India's continued leadership in shaping global conversations on growth, climate, emerging technologies, and global South solidarity. With the US absent and tensions simmering, the summit is set to be politically charged, but also a major opportunity for India to reinforce its voice on the world stage. With Farhan Khan, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
As we wrap up today's show, here is a quick look at the top stories making waves around the world. President Zelensky says 26 people, including children, are dead and 22 remain missing after Russia's strike on Ternopil. Hungary warns the EU against funding Ukraine after major corruption revelations, calling further financial support insane amid rising tensions. Australia has stepped aside for Turkey to host COP31, striking an unusual compromise that splits leadership and responsibilities. And that brings us to the end of today's edition of Namaste World. From breakthroughs in technology and business to political developments and natural disasters. Stay tuned as we bring you the latest updates, key developments, and more from New Delhi to New York. See you again tomorrow at the same time right here on Namaste World.